Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, October 3rd, 2019, sometime early in the morning. Check out the GFS models. Heavy snow falling in Alberta, Saskatchewan, and BC. Hello. Eastern Canada is not out of the woods. And look at Colorado picking up what we're putting down. Oh my gosh. Is this really going to happen? This is all math, folks. But the math doesn't lie. Neither does the exact webcam footage of Shivalush showing another eruption going boom time. We'll get to that. Hello. Keep calm. It's boom time. Deep snow creating record cold. Heads up, Montana. Wednesday morning started out with record cold once again for parts of Montana. There has been record cold in the state since Saturday, which is Saturday in Pagosa. That leaves Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday also for record cold in Montana. Record cold highs and lows have been shattered where deep snow is still lingering off the Rocky Mountain front. It's a vicious cycle, with deep snow locking into the cold air, which slows the melting, resulting in sustained cold. And that means this is going to sustain into winter. But winter's not here as far as warmer temperatures are slowly moving in. Now, before they fearmonger you out of the fact that you're going to freeze your ass off this winter, there's another minor storm system that will affect Montana. Heads up. Yes. Thursday will be your lose day, partly to mostly sunny day with highs in the 40s and 50s. Clouds will increase over the western part of the state late in the day, and Friday, low pressure will move in. And then it happens all again, just not 4 feet deep. Kalispell sets daily record low temperature. Heads up, Montana! Chilly out there. Winter is coming. Area sets record for snow in September, and we're talking Washington State. Power outages impact several in Stevens County. And plus, they could be skiing already. Holy shit. Now, many people in Washington State were predicting them to never get snow ever again. But, oh, those alarmists are so hiding in their closet. Creme 2 meteorologist Tom Sherry stood in front of a low crowd of Springdale and Northport football fans. Yeah, because they're all global warmists up there. Hello, Portland! You've been brainwashed. Shut that down. Dice may be loaded, not for the Democrats in Portland or Seattle, for that matter. They're going to be wondering what this white stuff is. It must be global warming cocaine sent down by the cartel from the Republicans. Hello. Could Seattle see its first taste of snow before Thanksgiving? Well, that would be the gravy on the turkey, wouldn't it? It's a possibility. Al Gore is still in hiding. No one's chiding. How Seattle officials are planning for more snow this year? Well, they're planning for it because the powers that be know exactly what's happening. 80,000 tons of salt, 10,000s of tire chains, and plenty of extra training and practice go into a global warming world in Seattle. Isn't that awesome? When for 3 decades, the powers that be that control your taxes and your life and your slave progress while you have to work in these jobs and wear these stupid outfits and get underpaid to save the asses of the masses. What, 26 an hour, maybe? Socked in Seattle in February. So the officials in your democratic cities and states are preparing for extra snow and cold. Hello! It's boom time. Are you picking up what we're putting down? These people are full of shit, and they know what's happening. Let's talk about facts now. Let's get away from the global cabal of the multinational corporations that are feeding us this bait. Weather forecast models are explained here by Joel Grass and many others at Open Snow. They don't care if it's global warming or cooling. They want snow. And what they're explaining is record snow never seen before in their lifetimes, except when they were children. Look at this 20 inches of majestic heli ski available in the next 5 days. 18 inches in St. Christophe, Clantedan, Thiron-Brissin, Engelberg. Yeah, you're loaded with snow. Look at the northeast pattern through February the 15th. Look at this. Look at these models. And which models are correct? Why do we care? How does Diamond nail it every time? Well, because Joel Gratz is his best friend. And he's one of the top snow forecasters on the planet. Hello! He's been doing it for a decade, which is not a schmeckade. It's called facts. And he, unlike us, is a professional. He's given the data, which is not schmeda, and he doesn't care about global warming or global cooling. All he cares about is powder skiing with his buddies. So he's looking for those blue zones. And guess what? Do models make a difference? Yes, they do. Let's check it out. I typically give you the European model because the ECM is 92% accurate, and that's badass moving forward. If you use the Canadian model, they pretty much suck at 88%, but I digress. The Brits are right there because they're stealing the European model statistics, and they're getting it 90%, 0.2 right. The American model is the same as the Canadian model, which is a schmodel, and that's a GFS, but it is effective for mountain snow. So certain models are effective for certain forecasts, and other models are effective for other forecasts. But together, they're just a bunch of mathematical gibber-merjol, and you can believe anything you want. In fact, the hockey stick itself has been derived from these stupid models. But the meteorologists tend to stay with only 10 to 15 days. They don't go out 10 to 15 years because they know they will be 100% wrong, and they're actually looking to ski. Now, what does that mean for you and me? It means simply this, that there are some meteorologists, like the climate guy, and my friend over here at Open Snow, that actually want to get to the bottom of the facts. They want to know what's happening on a daily basis, and they want to know what's happening with the snowfall. And so they've done their own research and their own homework, and they found out that the European model kicks ass and takes names 92% of the time. So we'll be using that exclusively on the forecast unless we're predicting mountain snow where the GFS model kicks in way better, which is what we're using now in the spring and the fall, depending on what hemisphere you're in. Extreme fall start marked by unusual heat, snow, and cold records in the U.S. Now, we described this last night as the breakdown of the jet stream. It goes from this zonal flow, which rushes right across the country at solar max, to a solar minimum pattern where it breaks down because the magnetosphere is breaking down. And as this pattern breaks down, you get meridional flow in yellow versus zonal flow in red. And that brings the Arctic air all the way down to the deserts here, which has been happening for the last 2-3 years. And it keeps the zonal flow away. Zonal flow is negated during meridional flow. And we've had Arctic air move all the way down into the near Mexico. It's coming back up, and in just a few days, it's going to dump back down into the southeast. So they're experiencing record highs because this tropical air is moving up into this hole. It has to. That's the way these weather systems work. They punch up into these areas where the meridional flow starts to break down the jet stream. So you have Arctic fronts moving all the way down to the tropics and tropical fronts moving all the way up to the Arctic. That leads to more snow in the Arctic, more cold in the mid-latitudes, and you all buying the propaganda that global warming is responsible. It's your fault, kids. Not natural climate variability that's been happening every single 100 years for the rest of our lives. But that cold air penetrates because of the meridional flow. And we'll get to that. Antarctic discovery, how unexpected treasure was found buried below ice by researchers. Now, this goes out to my friend Robert Fetterman, who's one of my only longtime friends. And Ernest Shackleton is one of his biggest heroes. I mean, he got me into multiple books. We read books and we hung out and we talked about it. It was amazing times. I wish I had those back. They're coming back. Antarctica researchers made a stunning discovery hidden below the ice in the frozen desert for more than a century, a documentary has now revealed. Sir Ernest Shackleton, a polar explorer who led 3 expeditions to the Antarctic from 1907 to 2009. Mr. Shackleton, alongside with 3 companions, completed the Nimrod expedition, establishing a new record for distance travel from the South Pole in 1921. After returning from his expedition, Mr. Shackleton died of a heart attack and was buried in the icy continent. And it took many secrets to the grave with him, including the fact that he found probably bases, warm areas, and all kind of other shit that we'll never know about. But Brightside's 2018 miniseries, Strange Things Found in Antarctica, revealed how researchers have made bizarre discoveries more than a century on. The narrator explained 2 bottles of excellent Scotch whiskey were hidden in the ice of Antarctica for more than 100 years. Now, these bottles are worth probably $1 million each if they were sold at auction. Who owns them? And after archaeologists uncovered this unexpected treasure, they did not remove its ice trap immediately because they were afraid of damaging their findings. I doubt it. I believe some people have these bottles and they will show up in the near future. So look for Ernest Shackleton's whiskey to be auctioned off in the near future because no one knows where they are. I do. So this whiskey has been extruded from the ice while the men were dying. No one came to save them. It was an accident they lived. The whiskey was defrosted over 2 weeks. Whiskey would not be frozen, even if it was minus 140 degrees. So I have no idea what they're talking about. The bottle in 1898, after it was blended, was aged 15 years. The Macallan bottles were among 3 crates of Scotch and 2 of brandy found in 2010. Do you know how much money this Scotch and brandy is worth? Can you imagine? The Illuminati has this in their basement. Trust me. And they're sucking Shackleton's gourd right now. Can you imagine that? That's crazy. That's crazy. Trump tweets overwhelming GOP impeachment defense. If you're watching the politics of our nation, you're not preparing for the eventuality of your situation. If you think that any political structure is going to save you, you're watching the wrong channel. This is a farce. What if we told you that more Canadian provinces could see snow this week? What if we told you that? It could be the lost fall of 2019. The historic weekend snowstorm, which actually fell on the first full week of fall, has captured headlines for days. Oh, the only thing is not in the U.S. With both local residents and prairies in awe of this early wintry blast up in Canada, other fellow Canadians are in denial that this sort of thing could happen in September. And they're over in the East because they're Democrats. So herein lies the problem. The propaganda has separated us into cliques. Pro-lifers, pro-murderers, pro-gunners, anti-gunners, pro-burn-wooders, anti-burn-wooders. And if you sit down and think about it, if you have those democratic ideals that we can't burn wood, we can't fish, we can't kill animals to eat, but we have to eat shit that multinational corporations make because it's going to save the planet, then you're the idiots. Trust me. The left wing is off the hinge. And the hinge is the thing that holds the door to the wall, which is called the hinge in English. But you're off the hinge. It's a new word I invented to describe leftists. I used to fundraise for you schmucks because your ideals are utopian, but they're bullshit. All they are is a purpose to decrease. Yeah. Democrats want to extract the wealth from the poor, which already have no money, to save the planet. And you know what Republicans want to do? They don't care about you, the poor people, the rich people. They don't care about any people. They just want to tax you to redistribute the wealth. So it doesn't matter left or right where the redistribution happens. As long as you're rich, you'll get more money. Poor people get shit. According to the Republicans, poor people shouldn't get food stamps. Democrats want it. But according to the Democrat protocol of food stamps, the only thing you can buy is GMO, poison. You can buy the poisonous Enfamil for your child and kill them early so that they get vaxxed and die early and perpetuate hundreds of pharmaceuticals from the industry. And you're saving the planet. Yeah, and you voted for Bernie Sanders. You're awesome. And we're all socialists, and we all get a $10,000 check every year. So we all live at the poverty level, and we're all like, yeah, we're all the same. We all shit in a bucket. It's awesome. Or you can vote Republican, where a few smart people get to own businesses, take over the world, and be right up the ass. Yeah, that sounds like a great system. You get the one way, and you get the other way. How about the middle way? Right in the middle, where I like to own guns, hunt animals, kill whatever I want to eat, grow whatever I want to do, run naked around my property, and have any opinion I ever want. And I can say it live on air. And you can't censor me because it's part of the Constitution, you pricks. So Democrats claim that I'm unconstitutional, and Republicans claim I'm unconstitutional. They all want to shut us down from both ends because there is no free speech, because the only speech is left and right. There is no center. There is no cognizant dissident. There is no person that has absolute authority in the middle. That will never happen because that's called reason. When you get to the center, you're talking common sense. And what the left and right have bred is a cacophony. We're talking hundreds of millions of idiots that have no idea what's actually happening. They have no idea about the actual facts. They have no idea about the actual November schedule. They have no idea of the actual science behind extreme fall, extreme records here, and extreme heat there. They think that this is global warming and this we shouldn't talk about. When this is happening the same time that this is happening, which has happened time immemorial over every minimum, solar minimum, grand minimum, time immemorial, which is why all of our forecasts are right here on the channel for the last 2.5 years. I had never had to retract any of my statements. Could you please tell me one single forecaster that hasn't had to retract a statement and said, oh, I was wrong there. I made a mistake because I listened to others. I don't listen to others. I make my own calls, my own decisions based on facts and science, based on the data of time immemorial, the historical data, the hurricane data, the tropical storm data, the snowfall data, the record heat data, the record cold data. You know what the mainstream media is doing to you? They're lying to you 100%. There are no record increases in wildfires. There are no record increases in heat events. Those happened in 1933, 34, 35, and 36. And then prior to that, during the medieval warm and the Minoan warm, we blew the roof off of those targets. But the mainstream is willing to claim that if they start at any time in history, they can claim that it's been getting hotter since then. Because they're that stupid. Yeah. Just like our president. Now, potent fall storm blasts the prairies with nearly 100 centimeters of snow. We shared this 2 days ago, but listen.
The storm of September 27th to 30th dropped the most snow of any single event I've seen to date. By the end of the storm, I measured a snow depth of 95 centimeters in Waterton Townsite, and that was after the 7th to 30th dropped the most snow of any single event I've seen to date. 27th to 30th dropped the most snow of any single event I've seen to date.
That means ever. That means even in the winter. This place only gets 54 centimeters of snow in an entire year. And they got 87% of that in 24 hours. Do you know what this guy is thinking? He's thinking that he wants to shoot a bazooka right in Al Gore's ass. Yeah. He's like, what the am I watching? I hope he throws the TV out the window, because it will be the final moment when that loud popping noise occurs. And that's his head popping out of his ass. Because this is bullshit. And listen to a meteorologist that is young and in the game, that's been around for 2 decades. The whole time global warming has occurred. And let's listen to what he has to say.
The 30th dropped the most snow of any single event I've seen to date. By the end of the storm, I measured a snow depth of 95 centimeters in Waterton Townsite, and that was
the most snow he has ever seen until he was born. Till now. And it's the first week of autumn. If I need to shove this down your throat another time, I will.
It dropped the most snow of any single event I've seen to date. By the end of the storm, I measured a snow depth of 95 centimeters in Waterton Town.
Hello!
After the
event, he measured 3 feet of snow in a place that never got any snow. In fact, it only gets that much snow all year. What's going on? Do you think the global warming game is wicked? Yes. I think it's totally full of shart. And the models prove it, because we're now just moving into the second week of autumn, and all of Canada's crops will be unharvestable, including North Dakota coming soon, Colorado, the mountain region. Hello? It's not over. And Michigan is picking up a tippy touch. But they have times to harvest. But they're going to be harvesting crops that are not worth any money. Now let's get to UK weather. Major incidents on the Isle of Man. Cosmic ray flux much? I don't even want to get into it. But it's record flooding. Can you imagine that? 500-year record floods. Severe warning for heavy rain in places in Wales, southern England and Midlands, East Anglia, and parts of Scotland. Areas further south will be worse affected, as a band of thunderstorms will totally flux the region in England and Wales. Major incident in Isle of Man has 3 people reported trapped in houses due to severe flooding, and more flooding, and biblical flooding, and blah, blah, blah. It's all your fault. You did this. Victoria now shivering through the coldest October morning in 35 years. If you live in Australia, you know you're burning up. So why are you freezing through your coldest October in 35 years if for the last 35 years we increased carbon dioxide by double? Wouldn't you be twice as hot according to the forecast? Please, let's call this common sense October. The October to remember for idiots. Remember that what we're saying is not made up. It's true. And it is the coldest October in 35 years in Victoria. That's chilly. 6 small earthquakes recorded in southeastern Missouri will lead the cricket lady to the brink. I can only imagine what she's talking about now. Yellowstone will not erupt in your lifetime. Period. Complex hazard cascade culminating in Anak Krakatau sector collapse. Now, what this paper reveals is that the powers that be knew that Krakatau was going to erupt. And they didn't give a fuck because you were just talking Indonesians. They're like third world country slaves. We don't give a fuck about them. And they let it happen while they knew it was going to happen. More information why you should revolt when the time is ready. Seismic update, no quakes of note. Except I noted this quake, 5.2 in Mateo del Mar. Thank God that was offshore. No one was injured. And we have a boomer out here in Greece at 5.1. Shit could happen there. But overall, it's just a normal pattern, except the nuclear explosions happening over here in China and so on and so forth. That's just preparing for the war that's inevitable. That's going to happen in the next few years. Influences the solar cycles on earthquakes came out in 2011. And I read the paper again because someone sent it to me. And they said, what do you think of this? I said, I never saw it. So I delved into it. And I was like, well, it's a sharticle. Because back in 2011, these pricks knew what the Dalton minimum was, the centennial minimum, and so on and so forth. But they didn't give a fuck. And their calculations are based right here on global warming. So all of their conclusions are based on solar maximum and earthquakes. And what they conclude is that earthquakes occur during solar maximum of grand solar minimums. But they never say it in the paper. But if you read the paper and you're up on facts, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you're an idiot or less inclined to read, I'm going to tell you what I'm talking about. Here's the histogram, 3-dimensional. It goes back in an axis. It comes up here in events, and it goes over here through time. So we start at 1600 and we end at 1900. And we can see a spike at 1900 right here. That's called the centennial minimum. And we can also see a spike up here and down here. That's called the Dalton minimum. And we can see a spike here in 1791, and that's called the Maunder minimum. So what the paper concludes is that solar maximum causes earthquakes, when what Diamond concludes is that grand solar minimums cause earthquakes in 3 packages: centennial minimum, Dalton minimum, and Maunder minimum. Maunder, Dalton, centennial. Because what they then, the next graph they give us is from 1950 to present, which shows nothing except the fact in 1988, when we were the coldest ever, there were no events. So solar max does translate to more earthquakes. But if you weren't aware, solar maximums occurred during grand solar minimums, because the Dalton minimum here, it lasted through 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 5 solar cycles, and each one peaked at maximum seismic activity. But the seismic activity did not peak on the peak of the solar max. It peaked on the downdrop of the solar min. Yeah, isn't that crazy? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Please stick with me. This is getting deep and technical, but you'll be able to follow this. Look at this point, 1791. Next high point, 1855. Next high point, 1875. So we have 1875, 1855, and 1790. Let's do this. In 1790, we're right here. We're dropping down on cycle 4 and entering the Dalton minimum, which extended all the way to here. So that's 1810, 20, 30, 4. In 1835, we're out of the Dalton minimum. Back in the centennial minimum in 1880, and it lasted till about 1910, 15. And if you want to go crazy, it ended in 1935 during the Dust Bowl, where it got hot for the first time in over 100 years. Can you imagine what that would do to the soil? Anyway, let's get to his numbers. Peak in 1791. Let's go seek that out. 1791. Wow, that's the beginning of the Dalton minimum. That's when most of the volcanoes were erupting, right now in history. And then it peaked again in 1855. Let's look at the graph. 1810, 20, 30, 40, 55. Right here. Holy shit. Right here on this anomalous cycle 10 solar minimum. Major volcanic outbreak. Let's see what's happening here in 1872 on this solar cycle. 1810, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 72. Holy shit. 72 is actually the down drop of cycle 11 into the centennial minimum. It's exactly where we are. So exactly where we are in solar dynamics is exactly where 3 times in the past major volcanic activity spiked. Wow. That must just be a coincidence. Has nothing to do with years, decades of research from hundreds of paleoclimatologists that have figured out that this correlation exists. Correlation is not causation. We do not claim that the sun controls the climate. That would be ridiculous. I mean, after all, the sun is only a gigantic plasma sphere 200 times the mass of our planet that literally controls the climate here on the planet. That would be ridiculous. Shivalush volcano news and update. Shivalush has been erupting over 6 miles into the sky. I hope you watched the early update. Worldwide volcano news update. Popo puffing Dukono to 7,000. Shivalush, another eruption after we reported it, is insignificant. It's just an after puff. But the collapsed caldera should lead to a larger eruption in the next week or so. Mark my words. Reventador, 15,000. Nevados to Chilan, 12. Sabancay to 23. Manam to 10. And you add that all up and we're in space. Oh, Shivalush is glowing live for you and I. That's a new volcanic pyroclastic flow happening now. At this moment. Refresh. Boom. Still happening. Global warming fraud exposed in pictures. Tony Heller exposed this a week ago. And Zero Hedge stole his video, stole his concept, and guess what? Do you think they gave him credit? No. Probably not. Now here are the fraud basics. They come to you from NASA and NOAA. And they're not even tricky. Each of these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, Slavia, Slavaz. We're talking 10 graphs. All have a different starting point. Now, any good auditor would come in here and say, look, your 11 graphs have all different starting dates. Therefore, your conclusions are bunk. But no one calls them on this shit. Global warming fraud basics include picking a graph at the lowest point, starting from there, and extending the line forward, so that the common man who's uneducated or inadept will look at it and be like, oh, yeah, I get it, man. Yeah, we pollute the earth, and it goes in the ocean, and everything dies, and global warming, and so on and so forth. It's amazing. You guys are geniuses. I better give you my money. I'm going to stop using lights, put everything in a special bag so that they can charge me more to throw it in the actual landfill. Yeah, it's awesome. I'm saving the planet by giving them more money to throw it in the landfill. Yeah, it's awesome. Guys, did you know I recycle? I pay them to throw it in the landfill now. Totally saving the planet. You want to save your ass? Check out Source Total Solar Irradiance Plots. Source, the only source for your TSI information. University of Colorado Boulder. We've been cheering about this site for 2 years, yet still people don't remember what we say. So here it is again for the 23rd time. The only place to get your total solar irradiance package right up your ass. And if you don't believe me, you can suck it. The biggest thing that happened in China on its national day is invisible in China. Yeah, the powers that be shot a 19-year-old activist that wants peace. These are the times that are coming to you. So if you think that you've never been in a march and you never were part of the Occupy New York and Philly and all that, and those people have no message, this is your future. It is a slow step up to what is coming in the times that come. These types of demonstrations are caused cosmogenically. They're not caused politically. Every solar minimum, we protest. And every solar maximum, it peaks. So we're looking at a 6-year period. In the next 2 years, we're going to see maximum marches. In the next 5 years, we're going to see rebellion. Mark my words. You have 7 years till the end of the empire. Minimum. No, that's max. I'm giving it 3 years min. Because once the financial systems collapse, they have to invent war to create money. So if the Fed collapses, look out. We're going to bomb somebody because we need to make money. And that's your time to move. And what I mean move is plant food. Start planting food, start surviving and thriving, set up a perimeter, grab your equipment, grab your preps, dig them deep, and cross your fingers. Because the pain from this shutdown will linger. Can you imagine living 4 years with no light, no electricity? Nothing coming to the gas station or the store? You'll probably die within the first 4 months. Unless you find a utopia. We're going to be fine here. I will battle this position to the death. Because that's the only reason I'm here, to live. If you want to take my shit when the shit hits the fan, you're going to take a bullet. Trust me. I have nothing to lose but my life. And I'm protecting my life. Hello? Experts warn we have only 12 years left until they change the timeline on global warming again. Well, you better be worried. It's coming. In 12 years, they're going to change the timeline. Transgenic Aedes aegypti mosquitoes have transferred genes into the national Yeah, I know. I had to reveal this. This is a big expose. Guess what, folks? Aedes aegypti mosquitoes have now been incorporated into the natural population. So we have GMO insects now breeding with regular insects, creating GMO distributors of vaccines for these multinational corporations. The only thing that affects the entire population on the planet is what? Vaccines and mosquitoes. I wonder what happened there. We are fluxed. If you want to learn solutions before you get bit by a mosquito, try permaculture. And if you live in California, the Santa Barbara Permaculture Network is for you. They have events all year. Learn how to grow soil. Learn how to wild harvest. Learn about mushrooms. Smoke pot with people that you actually like. Can you imagine that? Please subscribe to their listserv. Tell them Diamond is the reason you're here. And they'll be like, who's that? And they'll be like, oh yeah, he's awesome. They won't know who the fuck I am. Let them lie to you. Save your own ass. It's not important who the fuck I am. What's important is how water bears survive extreme heat, deadly environments, cosmic rays, and other shit. They're impenetrable to drought, deluge, and other shit. And they've been around forever. Yeah, hundreds of millions of years. Tardigrades, according to Live Science, are commonly only 0.5 to 1.2 millimeters long. Except they could live in space and at the Marianas Trench. So we need to know what they got going on. And if we were real humans on a real planet and cared about real things, we wouldn't be searching about dark energy or dark matter because it's all bullshit. We've already spent $50 trillion on that, on colliders and bullshit, and 180,000 fucking papers that have proven that dark matter probably doesn't exist. But we still are looking for it. Could you imagine where Waldo was? And if we looked at every fucking place on Earth and we're like, well, he's probably still somewhere. Let's spend more money. Who gives a fuck about Waldo? If we can't find Waldo, Waldo is unimportant because there are 8 billion other people that are important. So shouldn't we focus on the important people? Yeah, I digress. Japanese researchers on a separate study published in the Nature Communications have recently recognized DSUP, damage suppression protein, which is another fucking amazing thing that water bears exhibit. If they actually want to go to Mars, they should be researching water bears because we need to put a water bear suit on to go there. And yet rich pricks like Elon Musk and other schmucks that have $100 billion that get their asses waxed daily, their toenails buffed every 4 seconds, and they can basically snap their fingers and get whatever the fuck they want shoved in their mouth or up their ass at any given moment, are telling us what we need. Yes. Not a single one of you listening to this program can do anything that these pricks claiming that they're going to save the planet can do. So do you think that they actually have your common sense at heart? I doubt it. They have their bottom line at heart. Do you know what Elon Musk cares about? If he makes more in billions of dollars, he doesn't care if you live in the ghetto and you're eating PBJ and you may be able to upgrade to tuna fish tomorrow. Oh my God. You fucking frauds that are called Democrats that are black, Puerto Rican, and poor that I work with for over 15 fucking years are so brainwashed that these white pricks that don't even speak ghetto come into your communities after they've been paid off by Soros and they convince you to vote for fucking Hillary Clinton. And all of you do, 99.8% fucking vote for the villain. That's how fucking stupid you are. And then 20% of you comment so atrociously on my interview with Adam Kokesh that I have to ban you from commenting on my channel because you're so fucking retarded that you're like, Trump is so smart. He is figuring out how to collect. Dude, Trump is as corrupt as fucking Clinton, as fucked as corrupt as everyone. You're so stupid. You think Trump is not corrupt. Oh my God. If you're not a Trump supporter and you believe in facts, check out the Electric Universe Gateway, because this is factual science being accumulated by non-incorporated idiots that are smart. Now, we're plasma physicists, geologists, and other types of physical scientists that have come together to develop these papers to feed them to the masses so they get actual information. And what happened was, in about 20 years, the millions of papers of bullshit, those scientists are like, wait a minute, all our shit is wrong. And they're looking at what we've published independently over the last 20 years, and they're like, these people that are not supported by universities are doing the best science. Why is that? Why are the independent scientists that are not dependent on funding from multinational corporations that control universities doing the best breakthrough science? I wonder why that's happening. They must be paid off by the oil and gas industry. They must be. Now, let's get back to Earth. Let's ground ourselves. You need wood, oil, and gas to survive in an ice age. You and I were born in one. We just happened to be born during the Holocene warm, which is a warm period during an ice age where it's warm for just a few thousand years. But we actually were born at the very end of the longest warming period ever in history, which drops off for 80,000 years into a glacial ice that covers New York in 1 mile of said substance. And it penetrates all the way down at that thickness, 1 to 5 miles thick, into Wisconsin at some points. And just 12,000 years ago, this was the scenario. If you were living in Ohio, you could look to the east and you would see a 5-mile mountain high of ice in New York. It would be, more impressive than the Alps. And if you look due north, it would be 2.5 miles high, just 50 miles from you. This is 12,000 years ago. We're not talking billions and billions of years. 12,000 years ago. 12,000 years ago. And the scientists want you to believe that we learned how to farm 8,000, 6,000 years ago. That's when the Mesopotamians learned farming. But the research coming out this month is showing that Talek Tepe, just east of Göbekli Tepe, is dated at the youngest at 12,500, which means it's older than 12,500 years ago, where they made jewelry, had advanced burials, had communities and buildings and community centers, places of worship, were astrotheologians. They knew astronomy and plasma physics better than we know today. They knew about declination, precession of the equinoxes, and so on and so forth. The entire world had been mapped to geosynchronous specificity that we've only figured out in the last decade. They knew how to map the Earth better 13,000 years ago than we just learned. Isn't that hilarious? Do you hear CNN reporting on this? I didn't hear a word from MSNBC. Hello? The AASSS, the Accredited Association of Asshole Scientists, that are telling us Göbekli Tepe was a skull cult. They ate people. They're hunter-gatherers. These people were geniuses. They knew how to not harm the planet, not pollute the earth. They didn't have to quarry shit. They didn't have to bury their waste. There is no remnants of plastic or other toxins, PCB, TCE, broken ozone, broken atmosphere, broken humanity, broken immune system. Fuck you, science. If you claim that you are something that's great, you're a fraud. If you're a current scientist in academia and you think you're doing the world a pleasure and you want to debate me, please email me, oppenheimerranch@gmail.com. oppenheimerranch@gmail.com. There's not a single scientist with the cojones that is peer-reviewed, that is in the system, I'm tenured, that would ever come on my show, because not only would I embarrass them, but I would defame them and I would lose their job. The second they came on the show, if they stayed for more than 30 minutes, I would decimate them. I have so many facts locked in this head based on science that I learned. And I continue to delve into the facts day after day while they delve into the propaganda and the bullshit machine that allows them to get the funding to lie to you, to lie to your children, that you pay tens of thousands of dollars, that they go to university to be indoctrinated so they can get a bullshit job and perform and get the 501c3 and the 401k. And I need retirement. I need to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get my children into Cambridge. It's worth it. So what? So they can learn bullshit science from bullshit scientists paid by multinational corporations to fucking kill you? Oh my God! Wake up! I'm fucking done. I'm not even finishing this fucking program. Fuck you!